Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're joining us today, you are probably someone who really wants to get to the bottom of these complex issues, but without drowning in the information overload.
Right, just cutting straight through the noise to see what's actually happening.
Exactly. And today, we are exploring a massive shift that is happening right under our noses. So picture this scenario for a second. You are sitting in the waiting room of an emergency clinic. You've been having these strange, erratic chest pains for 3 days. You're exhausted. You're terrified. And the receptionist hands you a tablet.
Which is pretty standard now.
Right. But before you can even get in the queue to see a triage nurse, a screen pops up. It's this massive wall of text telling you that an artificial intelligence platform is going to process your symptoms, analyze your medical history, and basically determine your care pathway. And at the very bottom, blinking in bright blue, is an I agree button.
And, I mean, in that moment, with your chest totally tight and your anxiety just peaking, you aren't reading Section 4, subsection B, about data inference sharing.
No, definitely not.
You just want a doctor to tell you that you aren't having a heart attack.
Yeah.
So you click on the button and hand the tablet back.
We've all done it. I mean, we treat that medical consent form the exact same way we treat a software update on our phones. Just scroll, agree, move on.
Exactly.
But today, we're looking at why checking I agree at the doctor's office, which is supposed to be this holy grail of medical ethics, is suddenly breaking down in the age of AI. We're pulling from these fascinating excerpts from a piece called Beyond Consent: Ethical Accountability in Healthcare AI.
And this research is so crucial because it really sets the stakes. This isn't just about reading the fine print. It's about understanding what actually happens to your data when you are at your absolute most vulnerable.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start at the foundation of consent itself, right? Because consent inherently implies that you have the power to say no.
Right, that's the whole point of the word.
But in modern healthcare, that power is just disappearing. Being asked to consent to an AI healthcare system right now feels a bit like being offered a glass of water after 3 days in the desert.
Wow, yeah.
You're not agreeing because you love the terms and conditions. You're agreeing because you literally don't have another option.
If we connect this to the bigger picture in the text, you see exactly why that happens. Healthcare scarcity completely removes choice. We're talking about understaffed clinics, wait times measured in months, geographic barriers to specialists, and, totally prohibitive costs.
So it's not a luxury upgrade.
No, not at all. These AI triage bots are filling a massive void. So consent becomes circumstantial. You either consent to the AI system or you just forego care entirely. And the text makes a really crucial distinction here. This isn't legal coercion.
Right. The hospital isn't holding a gun to your head.
Exactly. It's what the author calls coercion by circumstance. And that makes the entire ethical framework really unstable.
Okay, so if a patient is basically forced into this desert water scenario, how does that coercion change the actual information they give to the system? Because it has to fundamentally alter human behavior, right?
Oh, absolutely. It changes everything.
But wait, let me play devil's advocate for a second. If I'm desperate for care, I'm going to tell the doctor or the AI absolutely everything. I mean, isn't more data exactly what an AI needs to make a good decision?
Well, that's what tech developers want us to think. But the text clarifies a huge danger here. There is a massive difference between trust-driven transparency and what they call desperation-driven disclosure.
Desperation-driven disclosure. Okay, walk me through that.
So under duress, people just overshare indiscriminately. You reveal fears, behaviors, and uncertainties that you would normally hold back or explain in context. You might confess to an AI bot that you've been drinking heavily this week, not because it's relevant to your chest pain, but because you're just throwing everything at the wall.
Hoping something sticks so they treat you.
Exactly. But here is the AI blind spot. The AI absorbs this panicked information entirely without context.
Because it can't see that you just lost your job and you're stressed.
Right. It converts these really vulnerable, temporary moments into permanent digital inferences. And those inferences can dictate your care pathways, your risk classifications, and your future access to care. And the moral reality gets totally obscured when institutions just slap a label on it and call it voluntary participation.
Wow. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? It sounds like when you sign that tablet in the waiting room, it's not a shield for you, it's a shield for the hospital.
Yes, 100%. The text explicitly calls this the illusion of informed consent.
It's illusion, because it looks like consent, but it's not.
Right. These forms heavily emphasize terms of use and data policies. But understanding that an AI is involved is totally different from understanding how its inferences will be used against you.
What do you mean by used against you? Like, what are the unknowns here for the patient?
Well, the text lists a few things patients cannot possibly anticipate.
Yeah.
First, how long do these inferences live? Does a high-risk tag follow you for the next 40 years?
That's terrifying.
Second, who gets to see them? Hospitals trade these anonymized profiles with tech companies all the time.
Right, the secondary data market.
Exactly. And third, how do they shape downstream decisions? Let's say an algorithm flags you as non-compliant because you missed some app check-ins. 3 years later, could another algorithm look at that tag and bump you down an organ transplant list?
Oh my God. Just because you forgot to log into an app.
Yes. And can you ever challenge that? Probably not, because you don't even know it happened.
So consent has basically just become procedural.
Purely procedural, not ethical. It diffuses accountability and shifts the responsibility away from the people designing these systems. And it reframes actual harms to patients as just, accepted trade-offs of the technology.
That is wild. And this power imbalance between the hospital and the patient is currently being supercharged by just the sheer velocity of artificial intelligence.
Speed is a huge factor here.
Right, because AI dramatically accelerates everything. It shrinks the window you have to actually make a decision. Consent goes from being this meaningful pause at a crossroads to just a speed bump you fly over at 90 miles an hour.
That speed bump analogy is spot on. What's fascinating here is how the text explains that speed privileges system momentum over human deliberation.
So the system just wants to keep moving.
Exactly. Decisions are being forced while the patient is stressed out of their mind and way before they can even understand their options. And this highlights a profound point from the source about trust. Relying on quick consent forms fundamentally misunderstands what trust actually is.
Because checking a box isn't trust.
Right. Trust is relational. It comes from feeling understood, experiencing some kind of continuity of care, and being able to question decisions without being penalized for it. Consent, on the other hand, is merely transactional.
I give you a signature, you give me triage.
Exactly. And substituting one for the other completely destroys the systemic legitimacy of healthcare.
Okay, so here is where it gets really interesting. If we acknowledge that this consent model is just completely broken, especially in these high-speed, high-stress environments, how do we actually fix the accountability problem? The text says the answer isn't taking away patient autonomy, but demanding stronger system responsibility.
Right. It's about moving the burden.
But what does that actually look like in practice for you, the patient?
It looks like a massive shift from individual consent to institutional design. AI systems have to be built to recognize context.
Like knowing if I'm using a fitness app at home versus sitting in an ER.
Exactly. Is this an elective engagement, a constrained one, or a full-on emergency? The text outlines 4 specific governance choices to fix this. And to be clear, these aren't technical limitations of AI, they are choices we can make.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, reducing the scope of inferences drawn during high-distress moments.
So, stopping the machine from analyzing my mental state when I'm just there for a broken leg?
Precisely. Second, delaying the secondary use of data. Put a quarantine period on data collected in the ER before it gets sold or used for research.
That makes a lot of sense. Give it time to cool down.
Third, mandating human review before major decisions. An algorithm should never be the final word on denying a treatment or bumping someone off a transplant list.
A real human has to sign off. I like that. And the fourth one?
Ensuring crisis inferences explicitly expire. If the AI makes a judgment about your behavior on the worst day of your life, that data point needs an expiration date.
It can't just haunt your medical record forever.
Right. And there is a massive urgency to implement these solutions right now because AI is accelerating fastest in the most under-resourced, marginalized, and crisis-driven settings.
Of course, where people have the least power to push back.
Exactly. If we don't fix this governance now, extracting intimate data from people under intense pressure will just become completely normalized.
It just becomes the cost of getting basic medical care.
Yes, and we cannot let that happen.
Wow. Okay, to pull all this together for you listening. In the age of healthcare AI, your vulnerability fundamentally alters your agency, and scarcity reshapes your choices. The ethical burden has to shift upstream from your digital permission slip in the waiting room to their actual system design. Consent is still necessary, but it is no longer sufficient.
It really isn't, not when the systems are this powerful.
Right. And the text leaves us wondering who is responsible when these systems cause harm. But I want to take this a step further for you to ponder today. Imagine a future where a split-second, desperation-driven inference about your health is locked into a massive AI architecture.
Which is happening right now.
Exactly. Now, if the hospital gets bought out or that specific AI system is upgraded and replaced by a completely new black box 5 years from now, where exactly does your original consent live? And more importantly, who holds the key to erase a digital judgment that was made about you on the worst day of your life?
That is the ultimate question.
It really is. Something to think about next time you hit. I agree. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.